Hey nerds, what's up? I have new hair! It's very exciting. If you're interested, I will be posting very soon a video of me doing my own roots and dyeing my hair, and it was a little vlog. It has a lot of other stuff in it, so I'll link that up in the cards if you're interested. But beyond the hair that I really, really like, oh my god, I wanted to talk about hyped books, hyping the books that are hyped. And basically we're gonna spill some tea about hyping up books and the expectations that come with that. And it's kind of spilling the tea on myself because I definitely struggle with keeping my expectations level when there's a lot of hype. So anyways, let's get on to this. It's really interesting being a part of the booktube community and the book Twitter community and like the bookish community online, because back in the day when I didn't do anything related to online book stuff, I was just able to go to a bookstore and read the synopsis and decide if I wanted to read it, and there was no one else really telling me that this book is amazing. Like maybe my sister every once in a while, but it was few and far between. And so now, years later, I've been a part of this community for so long in different aspects that it really does bring me a lot of opportunity to be told if something is good or not. And so there's a bunch of different reasons I think that hyped books happen. One is that the publishing company and big booktube, these are all very involved things now, and they didn't used to be. Sometimes publishers will send out these books, whether they're sponsored or not. It doesn't really matter if they're sponsored. The point is that they're sending out free books to people, and those people tend to put those books in their hauls, and that's awesome. I'm not bashing any of that. I think that that's really smart advertising, and I think that I always would put books that I was sent in a haul, so I 100% understand why that happens. So then we see those books more than maybe we might if they weren't being done that, and that's the whole point of sending out the books. So there's that aspect first. There's the whole other part of booktubers you know, and you not know necessarily personally, but you watch for a long time, you know their book taste, you know based on their videos, you know to trust what their review is and how their taste relates to your taste. For example, Chelsea from Chelsea Darling Reads and I, we have some very similar tastes. We really love that magical realism, almost just contemporary style, and we both love a romance, but then it also spreads out. She loves the fast romance, the smutty romance, things like that, and I am so not into it. So it's taken me going, oh, me and Chelsea have some things in common, but then when it comes to a certain other aspect, I don't have that in common with her. There's a lot of fantasy readers who I get along with their tastes very well, and then all of a sudden it's just, obviously not everyone is exactly the same. So you can trust booktubers, obviously, but then at the end of the day, your taste is your taste. And I think sometimes we assume that, oh, if this particular person that I know in general, we like a lot of the same books, likes this book, then I'm gonna like it, but then that doesn't always happen. Me and Brittni and Red are all really close in taste together, but there have been a few books where both of them will love it and I don't like it, or two of us will like it and another person doesn't like it, but our tastes are all very, very similar. So obviously that happens too. There's also the expectation when it comes to certain authors, and when you read one author's book and you really like it, and then you try to read another one of their books and you don't really like it, I definitely think that plays to hyped books. For example, I and a lot of book Twitter and bookish community people really love Illuminae and the Illuminae Files, which is by Jay Kristoff and Amy Kaufman, a duo. And that duo also recently came out with Aurora Rising, and I think that a lot of us were expecting the level of Illuminae, but we didn't get it. And so I wanted to love Aurora Rising so much because I knew that I loved their duo's writing beforehand, that I actually gave it an easier rating initially than I should have, because I was like, well, it's J. Kristoff and Amy Kaufman. And so like my brain almost switched it and was like, you liked this more than you think I did, but I didn't like it that much. I thought it was very superficial, very easy, nothing too intense, unlike Illuminate, which is so, ooh, so good. Situations like that where you read one book and then you think you're still gonna like it. I think that The Casual Vacancy falls on the opposite side of this spectrum by J.K. Rowling. So J.K. Rowling obviously wrote the Harry Potter series, and so many of us grew up with the Harry Potter series. We fell in love with the Harry Potter series. A lot of us have a lot of feelings about J.K. Rowling now, but that's a different story for another time. And so then, because we have all of these hopes and dreams for the rest of her writing, when The Casual Vacancy came out, it wasn't Harry Potter. It was so on a different spectrum of writing. It was adult and it was contemporary, and it was just about regular people in like a neighborhood dynamic. So then all of us were like, what the fuck is this? Except for me. I actually really liked that book. I'm one of few, but I think that the reason people don't like that book is not because it's not a good book. I think people don't like that book because when they read it, they were expecting more Harry Potter, and it wasn't Harry Potter. Okay, lastly, and potentially the most thing that you guys don't like that I say, is that we're gonna talk about some popular authors. So there's like this weird dynamic sometimes where these authors are really popular and a lot of people love them, a lot of people talk about them, a lot of people, and I'm talking about in the bookish community, on Twitter, on Bookstagram, on YouTube, it doesn't matter. But a lot of people like hype these authors up and their books up, and then I read the books and they're just not that good. So one example that I wanted to give in this is because of the most recent book that I read by her, and it's Leigh Bardugo. And I don't really understand why. I've met Leigh Bardugo and I think she's a cool ass girl, woman, whatever. But her writing just doesn't vibe with me. And like, it confuses me why so many people like it. Like, I get that it's a decent book. I'm not saying it's not decent, but like, it's crazy how much people are obsessed with this book. And then on top of all of that, there's the aspect of like, well, people are obsessed with this trilogy that she wrote and this duology that she wrote, so now she's coming out with another book and everyone's talking about it. And I'm like, it's just fine. I'm not saying that you can't love your books. I'm just saying that I'm confused as a reader why the consensus is so vehemently positive about her books. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but I think that's what I'm trying to say. And the same thing goes for another very, very popular author, which is Stephen King. He's got a lot of books, and he's like well known beyond the realm of just the bookish community. His writing is well known like all over the place and throughout normal regular people, so to speak. But like, why? Like, I've tried to read a few of his books. The storylines behind his books I think are good. I've watched a few different like film adaptations, and there's also like Castle Rock, which is based on Stephen King's ideas, but there's somebody else who wrote all of those ideas into a new plot, and I love that show. But like, his books tend to just be really weird, and like, for me, I don't think really weird equals really good. I don't even know if really weird equals really groundbreaking. Like, you just wrote a weird book. But like, clearly I'm missing something because the entire universe has been obsessed with Stephen King for so long. Like, I don't know, why though? I guess this video is really like, why does hyped books or hyped authors exist? Like, why do we... It's really crazy to me that a book will come out and maybe it's not even a book with an author attached to it that we know and love already. Maybe it's just a random one, but like, it just like blows up, so to speak, in our bookish community, and suddenly everyone is obsessed with it. Everyone's reading it. And then sometimes it works out perfectly. Like the Thunderhead by Neal Shusterman is a book that came out. Now Neal Shusterman also has some name recognition for sure in our community, but his book came out and all of a sudden everyone's reading it and then everyone's loving it, and I for sure was really nervous going into it. I was like, am I gonna like it? Because everyone says that they all like it, so like, is it really as good as everyone's saying? But I freaking love that book, and I liked The Toll too a lot. I haven't read, oh no, The Toll's the last one. I've read Scythe and Thunderhead, but I haven't read The Toll yet. But something is going on there. I'm not saying that my opinion is like the end-all be-all, but like from my perspective, I understand why everyone's obsessed with it. There are other books though, like I've said, where everyone loves it and everyone's talking about it, and it has all this hype and it has all of this like behind the scenes publishing aspect too, which I don't know enough about to know like what part that really plays in it. I'm sure it plays a part. I just don't know how big of a part it plays. So sometimes a book comes out and like everyone's obsessed with it and then it makes sense to me, but then other times a book comes out and everyone's obsessed with it and then I read it and I'm like, it's just fine. Or it wasn't good, and that's a whole different thing. This was just a nice little discussion about hyping books. Wow, I actually filled up a whole 64 gigabyte card. I haven't done that in a while. Means I probably need to empty it. So anyways, it's hyping or the hyped books is like a really fascinating phenomenon that happens in our community, and like it's always kind of happened since I've been around, and it's really interesting, and I don't really know like what the hell is going on. But like, does anyone else feel like I feel? Like sometimes it's totally matching, sometimes it's totally not matching, and like then you just feel like you're on the outside. Like, I want to love Leigh Bardugo's books, okay? I want to love them, but every time I read one, I'm like, it was just okay. And like, I'm not gonna read Stephen King's books. I'm sorry, I'm just not. But that's not Stephen King's fault. I don't really understand like why sometimes it makes sense and sometimes it doesn't. I mean, I guess that's just personal taste. Like at the end of the day, that's what I'm talking about, is the fact that just because a lot of people like something doesn't mean you have to. And also sometimes when everyone likes something, you end up also liking it. So yeah, I'm gonna shut up now. But that was a fun little conversation that I wanted to have. It mostly comes from Ninth House. And also The Magicians, fuck that book, still angry about it. And then there's other books that have been really hyped, like Cruel Prince, Middle Game by Seanan McGuire. There's definitely more than one, so yeah. I'm gonna get off of this now. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up if you did. Please hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. I make videos every Monday and Wednesday on this channel, so I will see you guys very soon with a new one. I really love my purple hair. Bye!